Consider this with me. When you see these terms, what images and thoughts come to your mind? Gang member, prisoner, convicted felon, ex-con, thug. Too often we associate terms like violent and destructive, cold-blooded, evil. But not me. I would like to introduce you to my baby brother, my best friend, one of the most intelligent, most talented people that I know. And as a young adult, my baby brother became part of one of the most well-known gangs in Los Angeles. And he spent a lot of time in and out of the prison system. And so I have firsthand experience about how that affected me as his sister, my mom, and even more so, his little girl. And now, as an ex-former gang member, it is my great joy to watch him enjoying a life of peace and embracing and loving fatherhood. And so when I look at those same terms that we just went over, I associate words such as survivors, hurting, brilliant, worthy, family first, redeemable. You see, I've had the great privilege to do this work for 22 years. I know young people who are incarcerated from Boston to Florida to everywhere in Illinois. And I have spent so much time sitting in courtrooms for hours and hours with my young people and their families. I've spent a lot of hours in the waiting room of a prison to only get 10 minutes to let my young people know, you're not alone, I'm with you, as our hands touch the glass, imagining that we're hugging. And far too often, I've sat in the living rooms of moms and dads and girlfriends who have lost their son to gang violence way too soon. I myself have buried 9 in the last 3.5 years. It's hard work. It's my heart. It is my passion. It's what I live. It's what I breathe. So how is it then that I am able to look at one of my young people who has been accused and charged with murder, or one of the gang members or many of the gang members on the block while they're outside selling drugs, doing whatever they're doing? How am I able to look through that, past and around all of that, and show them compassion? Not pity, compassion, there's a difference. It's simple. I know their story. And I've learned to develop the skill of listening to understand. And I've also seen the power of validation. Now, validation doesn't mean that I agree with what you're doing and, the choices that you're making. Yes, I'm in line with that, go gang bang, for the world. No. But what validation does is it says, I hear you, I see you, and I understand. And so what I have come to believe after all of these years is that we don't see things as they are, we see things as we are. And that's why it's so difficult, right? Perception is based on and rooted out of what we've been taught, what we learn, what we've been around, how we grow up. All of these things create different filters for different people. And so the way that I see a gang member is going to be totally different than the way that a mom whose son has been killed by a gang member will see them. Have you ever had a conversation with somebody and they just will not listen to your point of view? Like they are just dead set, they're just right. It's kind of like looking at this picture and saying only one of us is correct. Now, I may see him looking forward. You may see him looking sideways. Which one of us is right? We're both right. And so our goal is to be able to see this picture from different perspectives and see very similar images. And I know that's difficult. I know it's hard to step outside of your box, especially when nobody challenges you. And so today, I want to challenge you. I want you to step outside of your box. I want to introduce you to my homie, my buddy, Jonathan Sanchez. Jonathan had a very hard life of trauma and pain and hopelessness. His mom was a drug addict, and his dad was a very well gang member who was not there at all for him or his siblings. And at the age of 10, he began his gang affiliation simply because he was just looking for something to belong to, someone to love him, to take care of him. At the age 11 was when he was introduced into the criminal justice system for a gun case. 11. And that was just the beginning, because then he spent more than half of his life in and out of the prison system. He was angry. He was hurt. He was lost. He couldn't read. All he had was the gang and the prison system. While he was locked up, his mom passed away. Imagine the pain of that, the guilt of not being there. And then Elijah was born. At this point, Jonathan told me that he did not have a right to die anymore. He could not risk his life anymore. And so, because of people like his sister-in-law, Crystal, his girlfriend, and me, who was able to see him for more than just these labels that we give, hurting people on the margins, he was now able to see himself. He was now able to believe in himself. Six months ago, we buried him. Still so fresh. And now his son will not have a father. And all he was doing was helping one of his friends. And he got killed in a drive-by at 27 years old. That's my baby. So now that you've heard his story, when you look at these words, do these words summarize the life, the character, the beauty of Jonathan Sanchez? I have many other stories like that I can tell. This just goes to show you how important story is. I don't understand how we as a people, as a society, can take one label or one stereotype or one bad decision or several bad choices and say that's all that there is to a person's story. How do we do that? I have a formula that has worked for me. I'd like to share that with you. And it begins by assuming the posture of a learner. Too many times we think that we know everything, we don't need to learn anything else, especially if it's not relevant to our life, right? But by assuming the posture of a learner, we're always open and we're always willing to hear. I mean, we're trying to build true community here. How can we build true community if everybody inside looks just like us? We can't do it. We can't do it. We can't solve the problem of violence in Chicago without having young people at the table with us. We have to be willing to learn from those young people. Assume the posture of a learner. And then you need to develop the art of listening to understand. You see, too many times we listen with the intent to reply. We don't listen with the intent to hear. I have a really, really quick exercise with you. Everybody say the word shop 5 times. And another name for a police officer is a cop, right? Say that 5 times. And what do you do when you come to a green light? You? I go when I come to a green light. See, right there, you weren't listening to me. You had already formulated in your mind that it was going to rhyme with shop and cop, and you didn't listen to me to go along the journey with me. Listening is important. It is important, and it validates people. And so you're in the posture of a learner, you listen to understand, and then you validate that person's story. By validating that person, then you are validating their humanity. If we want to build true community, if we want to really change the world, we have to look at other people as they are. Gifts to this world, God's great creation, regardless of the mistakes that they've made. We can do it, and this is how I believe you can put the human back into humanity. Thank you so much.